and welcome back to Filthy Talk. If this is your first time joining us, please like, subscribe, share the content, get it out there. And yeah, welcome. This is our weekly panel discussion show for AFL and a chance for you to get to know what we've been up to. I'm Trevor Gemma. This is my host, my co-host, Christopher Livingston. And joining us today, we have a couple of special guests. To Chris's right, we have the lovely Crystal Precious.
Hello.
Who has, as again, everyone at our company wears a lot of hats. And I'm switching mine out. Yeah. So Crystal is our costumes buyer, but also is a performer, excellent performer. And you're also helping with our marketing team, right?
Yeah, I'm going to come in there and,
do you think?
throw a little idea action around. And
Nice.
I'm stoked on learning how to write too, doing some of that, like story arc stuff, and, trying to dip into different
We'll
rooms.
make sure we make that
Into
happen.
room dipping.
Room dipping. Oh boy.
And to my left,
Didn't know that was a verb.
we have Chris Myrdock, the uber-talented, multi-talented. Yeah, you own it.
Uber talented.
Yeah, sure.
Uber talented.
So also his main job is in our costumes department as assistant designer and key builder? Or
I do a lot of leather work.
a lot of leather work.
Yeah.
You're excellent at it. I have a wallet from you that I love.
Thanks. That was fun.
But also a performer and also creating his own show here that we'll talk about later. So you're probably right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Beer.
I don't know why I always forget that.
He always skips over the beer.
I was
But,
very excited about this.
It's because you drank some before.
Yeah.
And then you were like, I'm satisfied on
Yeah.
beer. And then
Gotta
you
have the
forgot about
pre-drink.
it. Yeah.
you might be
You always got a
need
pre-drink
to
before you get
want
up
it.
here.
Takes the edge out.
But yeah, no, obviously, as we have stated before,
There we go.
we will always be doing a little quick snippet of beer at the beginning. That is a big part of the company and something that we are all very passionate about. And so today, I am actually drinking what he drank last week because I was really curious, and it's very, very tasty. It's good. But a nice bourbon blood orange by this is Bridge, I believe. Bridge Brewing, yep. And this is incredibly good, incredibly smooth, and I'm really enjoying it. I have a feeling you guys are drinking the same thing?
We're all drinking the
absolutely.
beer of many bees.
Oh.
Beer of many bees. I like that.
That's a very sessionable beer.
It is.
It's a dangerous beer because I can drink a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
We're lucky enough to have it on one of our taps. I tend to
Not
at
for
home.
long.
I tend to buy that by the 4-pack a lot, and I go through those real easy.
Oh, yeah.
Where's
Oh,
the
yeah.
Bridge company from? Like, are they local?
They're
Yeah.
close
They're
by.
very
our
close.
studio.
Really?
Yeah, like really close.
Okay.
They're named because of the bridge.
Oh, because of that bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're
Oh.
just. I'm not entirely sure where I am right now, but I think they're that way.
They're
Bridge is there.
Yeah, I think they're that way.
Where are they from the bridge?
Well, they might have moved. If I remember correctly, I think that they were originally like underneath the bridge.
Yeah, no, they're now back off. They're back up that way
Okay.
a little bit, but
Okay.
they're.
It's kind of cool that you can see like the filthy lot from the bridge, like from the second nose. Like when I was having a couple of the dancers here this week, they were like, "We've always wanted to know what's in that building."
I felt the same. This was a place
Yeah.
that I always saw, and I was like, man, I want to go there. It looks cool.
Yeah.
And then when we ended up here, I
now
was
you
super
work
happy. I know, we're here all the time, like every
Now
day.
now we live here.
So
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm the.
wait, what
I'm
are
the
you
only one.
drinking?
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah,
only
what are
one
you
drinking
drinking?
something different. So this is the Black Male Northwest Stout from Strange Fellows Brewery, which is on Clark Drive in Vancouver,
Yeah, very good.
East Vancouver.
Very good.
This is a really good stout. I have a palate for sweet. I have a real sweet tooth. This has like a really nice caramelized finish. It's kind of sweet. It might be too sweet for some. It is a stout, and it's not exactly stout weather right now, although it has been lately.
Oh yeah, it's not been a very warm summer, and then today
hot.
it's super hot.
Just keep drinking the stout, and then the weather will be like,
Yeah. Oh
switch
yeah.
up.
I also have the bourbon in
Is
this.
that the
not a
bourbon
good
in me?
recipe.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
This is a very smooth beer. It is not too hoppy. It's got a little bit going for
it's
it.
really good.
It's got a really nice finish, dry on the tongue. I highly recommend this.
Yeah, the
I just
blood
feel
orange
like it's really clean. Like for me, I have had a lot of problems in the past with drinking beer and feeling like inflammation, like feeling I think maybe preservatives or something. I'm not sure, but just like I find that the fresher the beer is, the more local it is, and like maybe the more love is in it, it's more delicious.
Oh yeah.
I definitely like that it's a little bit darker and it doesn't feel heavy. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
This is a little heavier.
Yeah. No.
But I'll switch to this. I also this is a really hoppy beer on tap. So
Three options.
yeah, you know.
IPA on
I
tap
came
still,
prepared.
and that is quite a strong beer.
Yeah,
For you, it's a very strong.
I can taste true bitter. So when I taste something like hops or grapefruit or cranberries, I go. It's not my favorite thing. I like
Can you
dry
do the
hop
bitter
beer.
face again when we're
Yeah.
okay?
There you go.
Yes,
Good
Yeah,
face.
no problem. We'll do it on command.
Is this your festival bottle right there?
It is, which is why we have. I mean, this is if you're watching, Joffrey, this is a Joe Fefe sticker. And shout out to one of my favorite DJs, Long Walk Short Talk. Got Willis on here, Banana Cam, and I can't remember where I got the.
Weird looking bunny.
Yeah, who's the angry three-haired
Yeah,
rabbit
there's a
again?
crazy
Bunnies
rabbit.
everywhere all the
I
time.
don't remember where I got it, but so that,
Festivals aren't good for memory.
No.
It's not good for.
Which, by the way, festival. Speaking of,
yeah, you might notice that we are dressed particularly interestingly.
yeah.
What?
I mean, everyone
yeah.
else is.
He's like,
Oh,
this
is
is
this
my
just you?
Tuesday attire.
Oh shit! Sorry.
So there is a reason for that. This weekend would have been, and still is in a fashion, the
True.
weekend that Bass Coast, which is a local music and art festival in British Columbia, it takes place in Merritt, used to be in Squamish. It would have been happening this weekend, and it still is happening virtually as the Pixel Virtual Festival. It's actually started yesterday, going on right now, and continuing tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we mentioned before that this company has a lot of people from film, which is true. But another contingency of this company is people who are of the community from Bass Coast.
Oh, just say it. We're all ravers.
We're all ravers.
We're all ravers. It's okay. Just say it. We're all ravers.
But,
Aging.
like Ryan,
Aging ravers.
I feel
okay?
better. Thank you.
Yeah.
maturing.
Mature. Absolutely.
And like, it's interesting because you guys have all done Bass Coast several times.
Yes.
Yeah.
I may have
several
been at
times.
every single one.
Fair enough. And
I came late.
I am dressed for Bass Coast.
Yes.
Have never been to Bass Coast. I have never been to a festival quite like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it sounds amazing, but I have never been.
Well, we actually, I mean, you won't be able to see it because we need to fix that for the future, but there's nowhere to see it. But we did prepare a little slideshow just to show you guys a taste of what Bass Coast is, at least for the three of the people on the panel today. So, Alex, please, if you would mind showing the people at home.
Oh yeah, embarrassing slideshow coming up.
We'll show
Well,
you
that's
later.
great. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words.
But it does, some of the pictures you guys are seeing, actually, oh, there we go. Thanks, Ryan. There, now you can see it.
Hey!
Some of the pictures you're seeing, the reason that Chris and Crystal are on stage with us, Chris Myrdock, is that they are performers. Multiple times they have performed at Bass Coast. I've been part of the Power team, Team Power. What's up, Team Power? But
Super key.
That's like electronics, in case everyone was wondering. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it doesn't necessarily read, right? Okay,
Well, because
yeah.
this is like deep in the forest. Like it's not adjacent
Oh, yeah.
to a giant city. Like it's
Yeah.
a serious remote location.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. That's a little, this is the slightest taste, but if you want to know more, you can check out Bass Coast on basscoast.ca, or you can go onto their Facebook page and go through the photos. There's photos from all the years, and there's some amazing stuff. It's a really great place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just actually did a video to help out for this year's Bass Coast, starring CP here. It is eccentric and amazing and just awesome, and you got to check it out. That'll be coming soon. But
My mom's gonna be so proud. Hi, Mom. My mom's gonna be so proud that you used the word eccentric. She'll be like, "Oh, my daughter's following in my footsteps." Yeah, I mean, the thing with Bass Coast is that it really was sort of born at the same time that the venue that I used to run sort of like came to a close, and so at that time, a lot of the electronic acts that you see now at Bass Coast weren't really as popular. Like the kind of underground bass music that was sort of just coming up, they couldn't really get gigs at clubs. Like it wasn't as sort of like it wasn't coming into the mainstream as it is now. So having like creating space for those types of acts, and also for people who work professionally in the nightlife industry, there wasn't really a space for that. Like for them to party. Like when you go to like a really huge rave like Shambhala, or even sort of a more conventional festival like Squamish Live or Coachella or like something like that, it's one of those things where there's usually people who are putting on the rave or putting on the festival, and then there's the people who are going to it. And I think Bass Coast does a really good job of having those two worlds meld together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really feels like if you're working there, you can still be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always feel like that for every festival. It feels a little
No.
harder and less accessible.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really community driven. Like it's one of those places where I feel throughout any facet of my life the most welcome, like by just random strangers.
Well, this is what my boyfriend was saying to me. Shout out to Greg. Greg, I love you. But it's funny, when we started dating, he was like, don't ask me to go to any of your weird rave festivals. Like, I'm not, like, this is not. And he was really, he had gone to Lollapalooza. He might be a little bit older than me. He's gone to Lollapalooza and kind of like those big corporate festivals. And so he started getting interested because of the music. So the music is like really the thing that glues, that attracts everybody. And also, I think for especially performers and a lot of female performers, like the safe space and the sort of like sex positive aspect of it, like not necessarily like just more sort of accepting and like
Body
less,
positive.
it's not like we're being consumed as like weird, entities to just kind of like be like another accessory at the party. It's like, oh, everybody's going to be respectful if I decide that I want to not necessarily wear a bunch of clothes as a larger woman at a you know what I'm saying? So
Oh, I very much do. I'm a larger dude.
but it was interesting. So he didn't really understand sort of what the whole concept was, and then he was like, "Oh, wait a minute, machine drums playing? Oh, maybe I'll come." And then he showed up, and the first thing he was like, "There's no corporate signage."
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest thing that that's when you start actually like you feel less like you are being like given something, or like you're giving something to be consumed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you feel less observed.
Exactly, that's what it
like,
is.
More like you become yourself.
Interesting.
because
I've only
that-
been to
You're
the
not
quality
baited
of
to
it.
buy something.
Yeah, that's another thing is that like I mean, there's people here who are part of like we're Bass Coast fam.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of people, yourself included, who were going to go this year.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
This was going to be the
My
first
first
year.
year.
Right.
Your
It
first
was going to
year.
be my first year, 2020,
Yeah.
but
Well,
2020 didn't work out exactly like anyone planned. So
Bring them next year, Liz, Andrea, and we'll bring them.
And I wanted to shout out to those women. So Bass Coast is also founded and ran by women. Andrea Graham, Liz Thompson, Anna Hillier are some of the most just inspiring women that I know.
Yeah.
Respect.
So yeah,
So much
mad
respect.
shout out to them. They run a really awesome ship.
And just like such a great crew of people that they brought together who are super passionate. And that's the thing, is that because there is a lack of corporate sponsorship, it's so extra devastating this year, because
Yep.
there's so much like private investment, and then also a lot of people who have invested so much of their personal time to build up this event. So it's like, it's one of those things where, it's one of those things that beer's happening.
Glamour.
I can just hear my vocal teacher now. You drank beer and then you tried to talk. Nice try, Crystal. But that's why it was really awesome to get to, to tape a show here, because we definitely went a little eccentric. We're a little,
fucking dope.
on the humorous side,
is
trying
dope.
to like entertain people, because at least if we're all watching the same thing together, we can kind of at least, feel like we're under the same moon, so to speak,
Yeah.
I love the push that's happened of the scene going like onto. Oh yeah, sorry. It's basscoast.ca is where you can check out the Pixel Virtual Festival that they're doing right now. You can also watch them on Twitch. Just search Bass Coast Festival, and yeah, support. Like check it out. But yeah, the push at home, like early in the lockdown, what was it? It was the Friendstival. I was watching that, and they had like the Zoom was so much fun because there was just a ton of people in the chat that are like launching a Zoom number. They're like, get in here, and you go, and there's just people doing puppet shows and dancing under different lighting in their living room. And like I had the sound of the DJ coming out of my sound bar, and then the chat sound was coming out of my laptop. And I went outside, and it sounded like there was a party in my house.
Yeah.
And it made me feel better. I was like, oh, well, this is great. There's people inside that I don't need to talk to.
Not alone anymore.
It's also really conducive to like doing fun creative stuff. Like I was talking to Andrea about it, and she was saying, you know, the thing with live streaming is that you kind of have it on in the background, and you sort of like look at it every once in a while, but it's music, and then you're like, what am I gonna do now? It's different than watching television where you have to be like engaged the whole time. So yeah, I love the live stream for that because it kind of feels like, oh, there's this presence of that energy that I miss. Because the spirit of, you know, coming together because we love art and because we're going to do it no matter what, and because, you know, it is possible to create space for the type of art that isn't necessarily super conducive to selling products. Like that's basically what I think the concept of these types of festivals is like. Actually, you know, it's very similar to what's going on here, where you're just trying to like enjoy the art and enjoy making the art and cutting out the bullshit.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's very, what's the word? Inclusive. Like it harbors both us and them in the same.
Right. That reminds me. I never finished my story about Greg, and then he ended up coming. And that he's gonna notice that. He'll be like, "You never finish your stories." He ended up coming, and then he was like, "Oh, I actually feel great because I like to dress up a lot.
Yeah.
He doesn't love to dress up. I like, we have different." And he was just like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, do I have to be a weird scenester? Like, you know what I mean?" And it's like, no, you can just do whatever you want.
Any level of engagement there is great.
And that's something I've always loved about Base Coast. I mean, always. I've only been the last like 7 years, but there's a theme every year, and the theme, like, some people do their own thing, but some people just embrace the crap out of it. Like Tentacular, the year that was the theme.
Oh yeah.
Your costume was amazing.
That was fantastic.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
Like,
the theme?
the Tentacular.
Which means
Tentacles.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And,
Okay.
and CP
Gap
came
still.
out on stage in a performance, and she had these insanely huge tentacles coming off of her. It was unreal.
That costume was made by one of the dancers who were here.
Really?
Yeah, by Claire Somerville, who's in Subscura. So she helped me. So generally I'll like design, same with the Venus flytrap in the launch video, she actually made that as well. So I'll design the costume and then we get together and like hash it out. And then we actually did a few different prototypes to figure out what would work on that stage because there's so much wind. When Liz Thompson designs the stages, she really likes to make sure that she incorporates a lot of motion. So we knew there would be a lot of wind. So putting gradient sizes of balloons into each tentacle was actually the way that we got the tentacles to
Yeah,
move.
it was so light and just moved with the wind.
It was amazing.
That year was great.
It was super cool.
That was also, was
It
that the
took me
pirate
4
ship
hours
year?
to inflate it.
Or was that,
Was that the
or
pirate
was
ship
it
year?
the first year that they put the white feelers?
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna miss it so much. I mean, it's as we get older and as the years start to like cycle by quicker and quicker, being able to reattach and reconnect with the people who helped me to see my own potential and who were able to see me through a lens that was exclusive to, you know, like how viable my product was. Do you know what I mean? Like that, it was so valuable to me. And so, and I think it's something that a lot of people really need, you know? And so it is definitely, it's a hard one this year. And I'm really hoping that them and then the other festivals, you know, I feel like we're gonna be able to figure out enough support to make sure that they can continue to happen. Because there's this weird thing where like, for whatever reason, like nightlife culture doesn't get the same support arts-wise from the Jazz Fest gets funding and the Folk Fest gets funding and the Theater Fest gets funding, but like Ravers, like, like it's, do you know what I'm saying? I
Well,
mean,
there's art and there's fine art.
yeah, right.
There is a distinction between what people will put that money towards and not. And it's very strange the way like painting as visual art goes and sculpture just takes such a high amount of credit compared to other forms of creative art.
Yeah.
And it's just like that was a solidified club that happened at a specific time in history, and that's not going away for like a long time.
Do you think it's? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, to your point, that's kind of, I mean, so, okay, I'm an old school raver, like late 90s, early 2000s. My brother Casey, who's on the lighting board right now, he was a DJ who had a really good local career as DJ Sidetrack. And that's when I was part of the scene. And at a certain point, he walked away from the scene, and so did I, because I was like, I'm not invested. And it wasn't until Ash Turner, our costume designer, who was also for multiple years the vendor manager for Base Coast, she brought me out when we started dating. And I came out, and I was just like, this still exists?
Yeah.
Because I used to go into like warehouses and like it was all underground. Like, I mean, well, one of them was that felt the most mainstream for the parties we used to throw was the Korean Cultural Center on Hastings was a place that we threw tons of
They
parties.
let people do some crazy parties.
They did. It's true.
Cultural Center. If you need to
I
throw a
got-
crazy
I got
party,
here,
give them
yeah.
a call.
I got here after Calgary's scene like that died. When
Oh.
it used to be like there were pirate radio moments where if you had to tune into a specific frequency at a specific time,
Oh, yeah.
and you get to a place and they're like waiting for 10-minute intervals, and then they like take 10 people to like run down this back alley and into a warehouse. One of them was in a fucking glass warehouse.
Oh,
So there's
that's
20-foot like panes of
Are you
glass
kidding me right
as
now?
you walk in. Yeah. In
What kind
Calgary,
of-
and it was like 3 stories of this, and they had stolen plumbing
only
from
How
one
big
was-
building
how big was
and
the
power
rig,
from
though?
another building. Pardon?
How big was the rig? Like, was it like vibrating?
Yeah, like well, it was. So you walked in, and there was like this 3-story entrance
just be
to
like,
this
no.
like glass warehouse,
Sure.
and it was just like garbage and glass. I don't even know if it was still in
Sounds like a
operation.
great place to,
So
you know.
you walk in and there's these huge panels like leaned up against this thing, like back in this like alcove, and then the whole party was in all these different rooms, like downstairs and like 3 stories up.
But that's the evolution of this scene, right?
Right.
Like, it went from very underground, people making it happen because they cared about it. And then, like you're saying, there's not a lot of funding for that genre yet, but it's still relatively new. Like,
Yeah, and we're also the newest city in the world, quote unquote. You know, like one of them. You know, as far as like the arts and culture, like I do feel like. The conservative nature of our city very much is played out by the fact that the nightclub culture here is very much like controlled by like a few different companies, and it's not that much fun. Like it's a lot of very much like targeted sort of top 40 like viable product type and it also because the rent is so prohibitive here and like the cost of throwing things is so prohibitive that like the more that separation happens, the more underground we have to be. And to be perfectly honest, like in the last few years, it's been harder and harder and harder to keep those unknown spaces going because because of gentrification and et cetera, et
So here's a
cetera.
question then. Is it so clearly at a festival like this, and I haven't been to this one, but I've been to others, and there is really cool art installations and things that are going
yeah.
on. And on that level, you can totally get it. You could see, why wouldn't you support this? On a governmental government?
Yeah.
Governmental
I get what
level?
you're
And I think it's
Anyways,
starting to
on
happen
that
in the
level.
Base Coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can see supporting it, and I know, like, but there's that other side of festivals or the underground scene, and the things that the conservatives would like to point to is like, well, it's where people go to do drugs. You do drugs there. And do you think that's what holds it back? It's just the idea that that's obviously associated
I think
with
that's
such
a
scene?
stigma, but I think that needs to go away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that you could say the same for any scene. Like,
Yeah.
how many rock concerts have I gone to where there's just the whole place is a smoked out
100%.
stadium or smoked out
I mean, in
room.
my
But
experience,
they
it's
fought
just
that
'cause-
in the
Oh, sorry.
60s.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I was
Go
just saying
ahead.
they fought back on that, but yeah.
In my experience, it's just because there's a red tape in place to profit for, like in my experience, like the thing is that you get the support if you play by the rules and you pay the right people to do the thing. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it's been. And so if you are somebody who doesn't want to do something that's going to necessarily make the 50 grand a month that you need to pay rent for a nightclub in Vancouver, which legitimately that's how much it costs. Yeah. That's where you're like, how can I sell as much booze as possible. And honestly, that's where the bad drugs come in.
Yeah, I prefer the electronic music scene because I see less ambulances and fights and true substance abuse.
Yeah.
It exists in almost every party
Everywhere.
scene. That's just the
Yeah.
reality. But the fact is that the alcohol party scene is more easily taxable. And I think that has a large aspect to do with it. I think
So really what we're saying here is
that
legalize
fits
all
into
drugs.
a conservative
Yes.
mind frame more.
Well, that's actually, I mean, that's a whole nother topic. We should maybe do a whole different episode about that, but I think that is the answer, is to treat it as not a criminal thing, but as
A taxable thing.
no, a
Make
medical
your money.
thing.
Oh, right. That makes more sense.
Purely a medical thing.
But you're right. I think you're 100% right, Chris. Like, I think that they do slap
money, medicine.
They slap us ravers with the stigma of being, like drug hedonists.
Well, it's always like in any show that I can think of, any WB show or anything that hits that market where they show a rave scene or something like that. It's always revolving around some kids doing some crazy amount of drugs, and then they, but that just
sort of
shows the perception.
That's the demonization of it, right?
Yeah.
Like that, and that's been a repeated thing to any kind of counterculture, counterculture. They always find the worst thing that they can try to point at and say,
And then
these people are bad.
Also, it's weird because there are these really big mainstream acts where there's a lot of there's a lot of not great shit happening at those big acts, but those acts are happening at big concerts where there is corporate sponsorship. So it's kind of a strange thing where trying to find the right pocket, is really special. And I feel grateful that we've all gotten to meet each other through that, because that's really what it is. How do you meet people right now?
Yeah.
If you're not on a dating app or whatever. How do you meet people? You meet people because you give a shit about something and you show up to see it performed, or you show up because it's going to be a fun time, and then you meet people in the camp next to you.
And to your earlier point, it's the culture cares. The people in the scene, people who would be at Base Coast, are the kind of people who are going to commit to keeping it alive regardless of the fact that there's a pandemic and it's not able to happen this year. So,
Well,
I mean, the thing that might happen that will be very interesting to see for some festivals like Shambhala that have, it's very difficult as your festival gains popularity to not have it grow.
right.
And when it grows, then mainstream culture shows up, and it's very difficult to have your subculture not be diluted.
That's
and
true.
the Base Coast ladies have done an insane job of that. Simply the number of people who are showing up, and as the festival gets bigger, the things that they are involving are still sort of counterculture, like Boiler Room, in order to reach a larger audience.
Right.
And somehow it still feels significantly more subculture than, Shambhala was able to maintain.
I mean,
I find that very, very interesting.
I definitely do. I feel like everything sort of shifts into its own roles. I feel like for me, Shambhala has always been a portal party. I call it the portal party because it's the kids from Calgary who want to rage, and they're yeah, rage! And then they go to Shambhala and they're peace, love, unity, respect.
My favorite thing actually about Shambhala's programming is they have this amazing thing that is main stage. And when you walk into the festival, main stage is just giant and obnoxious, but it's also fenced off.
Yeah.
So you walk past it, and if you're that crowd, you look at it and you just go, go here! And then you get stuck in douche corral. And if you get past it, then the rest of the festival exists. And it's actually very content controllable, but it's kind of just like Facebook. You've got to pull some shit off your wall in order to find what's actually happening.
I've only been to Shambhala
They did a
for
great
a
job.
day.
They did a great job of how main stage operates.
You mean Pagoda? The
Yeah,
Pagoda
it
stage?
kind of filters that out, and the further you go into that festival, the more of a genuine sort of subculture experience you're gonna get.
I feel like it's interesting because it's also there's two, it's very split. There's this young crowd at Shambhala who's coming in for the first time to experience a non-corporate, it's the first time where people are trying to sell them shit 100% of the time. And then but it's definitely still there's the people who are putting on that rave that then go party at Base Coast a little bit, kind of. But Shambhala is still, I actually personally haven't been to Shambhala in a long time because I haven't been booked.
good
Let's be
reason.
honest. Maybe next year.
There you go. Sure.
But
No comments.
Well, my act has changed now. But it was, I think it's really important as far as drawing new souls in to see what's possible, and then that opens their eyes, and that's why I think it's a portal party. And then with Base Coast, like the thing with Base Coast is that there's always these auto weeding things that happen. Like for example, this year. The difference is that Shambhala owns their land and owns their infrastructure, whereas Base Coast does not.
It's a pop-up festival.
And
There's only
so-
one structure that's permanent.
Exactly. So with COVID, Shambhala was like, yeah, it's cool. Like, come back whenever you want. Like in the next 3 years, like they're able to do that. With Base Coast, like they're not able to do that and still keep their festival. And the backlash that happened against what they proposed to do to like sustain the festival, when they were like, oh, we're gonna try a bunch
the ticket
different-
thing?
Yeah, we're gonna try some
right.
different systems, and that's like that again is an auto weeding process where like the people who believe and trust in them are gonna still show up, and you know what I mean. It's gonna keep insular, like how you're saying.
Because no matter how expensive that ticket price gets, and like for many years I didn't pay for Base Coast, I was lucky enough to perform, and then
And very well, may I add.
Oh yeah.
That's the first time I ever saw him. He was.
wasn't it Dollhouse?
No.
I thought it was Dollhouse.
Was it Dollhouse?
I think it was Dollhouse.
First time I
But
ever
we'll just pretend. Tell the Base Coast story.
First time I ever saw you was on stage at Base Coast with Lucitera.
Yeah,
And I saw you with Sweet Sober Left.
That was the best time.
And I was just
right.
like, these people are amazing.
And I met them
we all work
all
together,
here.
which is awesome. I just love that we all work together.
Did
now.
you like that I tried really hard not to be like, I'm super cool? I was like, it's really hard actually to be like,
It's fine.
how do I try to
Your
impress
jacket
this
did it
person?
for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The jacket? I'm just joking. I'm totally joking.
So okay, we had the privilege. I was really happy to work on your performance video this week.
It was so fun.
really cool.
It felt
Really
good
cool.
to do something that still contributes to Base
Yeah.
Coast in some way, because that would have been happening right now.
That's where I put all my energy. Like, I really think that that's the key right now, is that all the like sadness and bummerness and like, it's like, what else is happening right now that I wouldn't be able to do if I was getting packed up to go to Nicola Valley, and like, this is it. And that opportunity came up and it was like, boom, we're doing it. And like, putting all that, into it, and then also having the intention, the motivation, like before we started shooting that day, I had Emily and Claire, and we were just like, today what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our friends laugh who are sad.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Nice.
with that we're gonna be ridiculous. We're gonna lean into the like, because I like to ride the line between parody and reality, like that.
I believe they call that pastiche.
Ooh.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, like when you do parody, but like you do that parody so well that within its genre, it's also awesome. I think it's called pastiche.
Ryan, look up pastiche.
Right, yeah, please let me know I'm not wrong.
Oh crap! I was going to
How do you
interject
spell
about
that?
something. Oh yeah, quick plug. So on the Pixel Virtual Festival, tomorrow night at 6:30 to 6:45
6:30.
is when you're going to be able to see Crystal Precious's piece that was filmed at AFL.
Right here on this set.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally
We'll
right
see
here.
if you recognize it.
It's a little different looking.
A little different looking.
Oh, Ryan, yes, please.
So, pastiche is defined as an artistic work in a style that imitates that of another work, artist, or period. It's also been pointed out in the chat that the illustrious Miss Crystal Precious's glass is empty, and as a host, you should probably have offered her a refill by now, sir.
That is my favorite person. Who is that person? Right? I was like, is it cool for me to read
Of course it is. It's a tap
there.
right here.
It's a tap. It's real. It works.
Can we give
Now
a
I
shout
feel
out to whoever
judged.
that was?
Feel judged.
Thank you.
Oh, speaking of shout-outs, before we continue on, because
Yes.
I do want to talk about a different thing. Because of our slideshow, I do want to give a shout-out to the Base Coast photography team, which is where
Yes.
most of those photos came from, probably all of them. Rebecca Meta, Joffrey Photo, Banana Cam, Fraser Ploss, John Palmer, Alley Cat. Those are the people that I know. There's more. I'm
Reckless
sure.
Photography did a lot for
Zipporah
us.
Lomax, did you say her?
No.
Zipporah, Zippy Lomax, she's amazing.
Louis Bachner at Eye of the Mind Photography.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing photography team at Base Coast every year.
Which is like so important, because otherwise we wouldn't know that these things happened.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But okay, so what I want to talk to you guys about is you are both performers. You're both performers who are used to performing live in front of massive crowds. I mean, I've been in those crowds, so I can say that they've been massive. So now that you work here, we can take your individual styles and I mean, you've already, Crystal's been in one of our sketches that we've shot that'll come out down the road at some point. I don't remember what the date is for that. Doesn't matter. But so performing in ways that you're used to and not used to here, but on camera. And I want to explore the difference between live performance, which we've also done.
Yep, a lot of it.
Very different
A lot
facets.
of
The difference between live performance and recorded performance. So
It's actually a really interesting topic.
yeah.
Why don't you go ahead, Chris?
I mean, I think one of the biggest differences that I've found working in the sort of two fields is in one situation when you're performing for the audience, you're working with those people and you're connecting with those people and you're figuring out like there's one single viewpoint that you're trying to satisfy, and so that's like very focused and there's so much energy that comes back from that.
Yeah, the energy's a big thing for me.
That's massive. I find that really difficult.
Yeah.
Performing for the cold naked eye.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there in the darkness.
Come on, tennis was not cold.
Freaking terrifying. It's terrifying.
ominous.
Especially when there's
warm.
someone behind there doing his job and you're trying to be funny. He's just serious as
Yeah.
shit. But he's trying to make us look good. That's the reality, but it's really hard to perform
Misha's
to
a little
that.
cool.
That's very difficult.
Well, so that's most of my performance has either been, believe it or not, musically, as a singer and
As a singer?
and as an actor.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna revisit that.
We will, but mostly as an actor. A little bit as I had a band, but
I think I'm
it's defunct.
50-50 in musicals versus
Oh, really?
regular. Yeah, I'm trying to think back, but mostly 50-50 musicals to regular stage plays.
But okay, so to what you're talking about, the energy of the audience and feeding off of them, and also like everything forward. It's also very large. Like you have to bigger to get to the people in the back. But then when
Music's
you get
loud
to
and lights are big.
when you get to the camera, it's all about nuance, and you don't get any feedback. I mean, after a take is done, sure, but during it, you don't have anything. It's like, oh, that was supposed to be a funny moment. Did it work? I can't tell. And it's because
I mean, you can sort of tell.
you can kind of tell
if you've
But
got the guys. but
Yeah,
when
if you're
people-
paying attention to the people that are going. But that's the funniest thing. So working in film a lot is, I've always reminded people on set that we're all like, it was all very serious about playing pretend. Because as soon as the camera's rolling, it's like, everyone quiet, and everyone's just sitting there being super quiet while people are playing pretend and being something that they're not. And then, you just end up cracking up.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot of money being spent in film usually, and you can't laugh, but you can't feed off the audience. Like it's still, even if you see someone snickering, you can't get that energy exchange.
But there's that trade-off of like pinpoint focus and pinpoint control of your timing.
Yes.
So there's that wonderful thing in editing where you can just edit it until the comic timing is right.
And a second take.
Edit.
And a third take.
Multiple
And
takes.
yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing I love is being able to like throw down impossible tricks. Like I will never do that trick ever in front of an audience because it's not possible. But it's on video because we just Jackie Chan'd it and did it until like the 100th take it worked, and then like the hard thing is to like land the trick and then be like,
You mean like
yeah,
as a
we can
ju-
nail
as
that
a
all the time.
juggler. Like as a juggler, like I know,
Yeah,
like a
yeah, right. Circus performance.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah.
main thing,
I
so.
mean, I've been told I'm a loudspeaker.
What?
I'm a little bit loud.
Huh?
Huh?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Yeah, no. But that is because of theater. Certainly,
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
the moment you get taught to project, they're like, oh no, you can't yell in theater. You're not supposed to yell, you're supposed to project. So you have to make sure you hit the back row. That was my mic. It's all good. Yeah, you gotta
Speaking
hit
of your
that.
mic, it's so funny
For the
because
projecting, no, you got to hit the back row in the auditorium, and the problem is that once you learn how to do that, it's really hard to shut it off.
Oh yeah. Makes you an
And-
overactor for film.
Yeah,
I mean, so I was lucky in the sense that I started using a microphone all the time, which you do not project into. Using a microphone on set was that I wasn't actually using. I mean,
Spoiler.
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest secret in the world.
see a lip
But,
synced it?
No, but there was,
No, there was a
sometimes
mic.
that I was speaking,
She
and
had
so
a-
I did have a lapel mic, and so there's sometimes I was singing and speaking with a lapel mic, but it was really funny because I was like tapping it while I'm singing. Scotty sound guy's like, stop tapping your mic, like it hurts. But
Right.
then I'm
This
also
is-
like not holding my mic the way I'm supposed to be holding it if I'm actually singing. I have to hold it out here so that it's not in the way of my face.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that the interesting thing you brought up about how you don't get that auto validation from the audience, I'm kind of like a weird spiritual bitch, and I feel that this whole journey has really sort of been something that I've been wanting. Like doing camera work has been something I've been wanting for a long time, and it has magically aligned with the progress I've made in my personal life of actually like working through a lot of my like need for like auto validation all the time. So like the thing about like being in front of an audience being like clap 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 and like needing that, and that at some point probably being one of the reasons why I became a performer in the first place, but then realizing, oh, I'm actually apt for this, like, you know, and I love it and I want to study the craft of it, et cetera, et cetera. And I did go to film school a long time ago, but then I got sidetracked into burlesque because I entered an industry that was largely guarded by gatekeepers, right? Like back when I was 20 years old, 19 years ago.
I didn't have to say that.
Yeah.
You didn't have to say that at
I don't
all.
give a shit. No, but what I'm saying is I'm fine with being like looking the way I look. However I look, like I might look like this right now. I might be like super, like I might drop a bunch of weight later if I decide to keep roller skating a lot. Like it doesn't matter. I don't care if I don't care that I'm 30. Like all that shit does not matter. But unfortunately, the industry at the time when I was 20 was really like, yeah, nothing's really gonna happen for you unless it's like a degrading part. And so, you know, I think that really contributed to, right?
We only
all
make fun
been
of
there.
large people.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
brutal. And it still exists in some of the most progressive shows today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, most progressive comedy shows still
Which one?
large phobic.
Not gonna name it? Yeah,
Brooklyn
don't name it.
Nine-Nine,
Oh,
man.
that's
Brooklyn
fair.
Nine-Nine, straight up.
Oh,
Come
that's
on.
fair.
The only two characters who have very few redeeming qualities are the big dudes.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I
and
mean-
But they get their hero moments.
All, they do.
It's happened,
all the props,
especially
all the
later.
props to them. But their hero moments are also all fucking unexpected.
Yeah.
But it's not a huge surprise that I just
True.
decided that it was pretty great when people clapped at me when I took my clothes off in the burlesque world. Like that was, like it's not like a huge shocker that I was, you know, but then it was also like DIY. Oh, we're gonna do our own show. Oh, we can't do our own shows. We'll do our own shows. Oh, those DJs can't get gigs at the nightclubs. You can come and perform at our studio. Like, you know, like it was very much that. And then I got to this point where I wanted to perform in such a way that my energy was really focused and the stuff I wanted to do was really specific, and I couldn't do it all by myself anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like we couldn't just fucking piece it together. We had to I had to have a team of people who were each doing their own thing, and it's really hard to do that in the like performance world, whereas with film, the glamour of it is not leveraged anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because of, I mean, it is a little
Well, that's
bit.
the thing. I mean, you mentioned gatekeepers earlier, and film, like traditional film.
Yes.
Like this is why this place
YouTube has
exists.
changed the game, right?
Yeah, it really has.
Like the whole internet thing, like that's why I'm here, because the idea that, you know, we are finally able to say, hey, guess what? All that stuff that you said, like that was patriarchal crap and it doesn't really exist. And like people can do quality work without necessarily adhering to your weird, stupid, sexist, like capitalist standards. Like that's why this place to me feels like home, because the same way that base, thank you, the same way that Base Coast does, and the same way that, you know, like the burlesque world did at one point. Like it feels like a place where I'm accepted and where like I'm going to be actually able to create the things that I want to create. And so, yeah.
So that's interesting because you have both done big performances in front of crowds, but you've also both done performances specific to your craft here, right? You have a video that'll be coming up, Contact Juggling, also,
If I can ever frickin' name it.
yeah, also amazing, amazing.
Actually, I want to talk about that briefly. So we've been pitching a bunch of names back and forth, and between Roz, like, and the one that I pitch to you that I love alliteration.
Yeah.
And
that's
right
what I
now,
was searching for. I
I'm
do
leaning
like
toward. Now, this is
alliteration.
gonna be a series of basically artistic movement, and it's going to be all over various sets that we have for Ready to Roll, our big flagship show. We're going to repurpose them to do things that are artistic movement within those spaces that are completely unrelated to the show. And I pitched Roz originally pitched. What was it?
She pitched
Ephemeral
a few that I
Phenomenon.
really liked. Movement Forge was really good.
Yeah.
Just it's simple, but it explains it. Studies in Motion was great.
Oh yeah.
You had Eternalized Ephemera.
Eternalized Ephemera, which I brought to. That was the alliteration thing, and that was from Roz's Ephemeral Phenomenon.
I threw out Through the Cracks because it can be like through the pavement or through the like light through a window. It can also be like sexual innuendo, so we need a good
Sexual innuendo.
But the question is, what would you
What is
name
that?
a show?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I
never heard
don't
of
know.
that
Like,
before.
what would you name a show that is all about studies in motion, from dance to circus to handstand to athleticism? What would you name that show?
Yeah, and that also captures something about the fact that live performance. This ties in beautifully. The fact that live performance is something that is fleeting, but because we're filming it, you can re-experience it.
Oh, it's so good. And the lifestyle, so that's why I do the film thing and I'm like, this is what I want to do, and I don't need the clapping, like that's not the motivation anymore. And also the lifestyle really suits me now.
Yes, the change in lifestyle is quite lovely.
lifestyle
I gotta be honest. Yeah. I'm just old. I show up when I want to. I don't have to do it for an hour and then stretch for 2 days later.
I love it because it's like, you're in a nightclub where it's everyone else's party time and you're there and
Working.
yeah.
That's hard sometimes. Oh my God.
It can be hard sometimes where sometimes like I got to the point where I just, was coping with drinking a lot at the gigs and with having these conversations with people that I felt disingenuous in, and that's hard for me. Like I like being real with people. So I'm really grateful, although I'm super, super, super grateful for the amazing times that I had, specifically at the Kiefer Bar, like that gig that I did. We did 270 shows there. Like I was so grateful for that gig, and it was so
270?
beautiful.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of
It's a
shows.
lot of gigs. There's a lot
It was
of shows.
every night, right?
Every week.
Or every week?
Yeah.
Oh, every week for multiple years.
Yeah, for 6 years.
Wow.
Oh, I should calculate that. We did every week for no, never mind. It was less. It was like every
But
month
I was
for
lucky
5
because
years,
most
so
people
it's
have to
a lot
tour,
less.
Still a
and
lot.
then I could still go out of town and do shows on the weekend. But like, I was lucky because most people have to tour. But like, doing a night at a nightclub is a grind. Like it's, and that lifestyle started to become attached to a bunch of things that weren't really serving me anymore. And I am super grateful to come here in the morning and 8 a.m. being in makeup and like being able to be like really actually bringing the energy up from like a grounded place and then killing it all day on camera and then leaving it behind, like, and not feeling like, oh, now I'm at a party and having to deal with the weird come down from the high of the crowd. And
Oh, I have a question.
You know what I'm saying?
Did you? You're drinking.
No, but Ryan had a thing.
Oh, you have a
Oh
question?
yeah, I had
Okay,
two
fine.
suggestions for Mr. Murdoch as for show names from the chat.
Oh,
One
wow.
of which is a joke. One of which is actually not bad. The first suggestion is Chris's crystal balls.
It's not all
No,
me. It's
no,
not all me.
and it's
Yeah,
also
it's
not
not
all
all me.
juggling.
balls, like just
Like,
Chris,
it's-
like CR. I don't hate it.
The other one
Wait,
was
you said it was
That's
about
someone I
sexual
know, isn't
innuendo,
it? They're just
right?
like, work balls into your title somewhere.
No, but it's not just going to be juggling.
Yeah, no,
right?
it's not all me.
It's all
Yeah.
about movement.
the other one was Murdoch moves, which
Oh,
is
yeah, also
a nice
not
little
on
bit
me.
of
Well, because
alliteration.
you already have Murdock Makes is coming out,
Yeah.
right?
That's true. So yeah, Myrdock Makes is right. So we've spoken last week. It's only been 1 week. It feels like longer.
Yes, it does.
We've only existed for a week.
Oh yeah, that's another thing.
In the
We
real
are-
world.
we're just under 1,000 subscribers within our first week. Maybe we
so
hit it. I
close.
don't know. But thank you everyone for supporting us so far.
Yeah.
And if you
Please
haven't
support
subscribed,
us.
please do.
Please, please,
we
please.
really want to keep this going.
They do it's like subscribers are a big deal, right? It's like subscribers versus views.
Subscribers
like I think
and views, they each do different
like
things.
Likes,
proportion.
count, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We need it all.
yes.
To keep this place alive, which we all desperately want. Please. So we have a show we spoke about last week called Witchcraft Labs, which will have different versions of it, and we had to scale it down because of the lockdown. And you've been doing a ton of filming for multiple projects that you were doing at home, because you have your own shop at home that you can do leather work, because you did that before you worked with us. And it's called Myrdock Makes.
Yeah.
So you want to speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, basically when I saw the quarantine thing coming, our idea was originally to get the first Witchcraft episode for the costumes department to involve everybody in something collaborative. And then COVID hit, and I thought immediately, like, if we're an online company, we can actually do okay during this time if we're creating content. So I just asked them to lend me a camera, and I got to do the artist dream. I made what I wanted, and I just filmed it. And the feeling of making a thing and knowing you're getting paid before
Did
you
you have
make
to like
it
slap
is
yourself
so
in the face?
lovely.
'Cause
Yeah, a number
I
of
was like,
times.
I never considered that.
Yeah.
Because previously I guess you would just make a thing and then have to sell it.
Especially as a performer.
Hustling-
like the number of
hustling the
times
thing.
that I've spent like a very large amount of money and up to a year worth of time and invested money over that entire period, and then just gone, hope people show up.
Yeah.
Because whatever happens, I'm going to pay my performers.
Yeah.
And maybe that means I don't get paid.
Yeah.
So we've definitely, there's a lot of making that. And even like if you're creating a show or making a performance act, or even like designing a wallet or a belt to put on an Etsy site, you do all the work up front and then you just hope people will invest. And commissions are a little bit different. But in a commission, again, you're meeting someone in the middle. And for the last like 3 months, I literally kind of woke up in the morning and went, what do I want to make? Watercolor calligraphy. All right, here we go. I'll make a journal cover. I'll make a key thing. I'm going to make a painting. Like, I just got to do all of that, which I'm incredibly grateful for.
I strapped black lights onto my shower.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I squirted neon paint.
Yeah,
all
how
over
much
myself.
tempera did you go through over the last 2
Did you film this, or was
I
this for fun?
did. It is the video for one of the first songs of the performance.
Oh,
Amazing.
I have
that
not
we
seen
are
this.
going to
Oh,
do.
I haven't seen this
that's,
yet.
That's
but
why.
amazing.
That's why O'Brien that's why I approached him to direct it. Like Roz was like, oh, O'Brien's our sound guy. So he decided that he wanted to like edit my weirdo quarantine footage of me in my like being like, woohoo, neon. And then I was like, oh, like you probably see me. Because sometimes people see me and sometimes people are like, they don't get it. Okay. And then I was like, why don't we do this thing together on the thing? Because to be honest, I made a video a long, long time ago with Stu McKay Smith, who's one of my favorite directors, humans ever.
Is that?
The apple pie video.
Great video.
If you don't know Crystal Precious' apple pie,
You gotta check that out.
But that was so long ago. I didn't have an Instagram. I didn't have a website. I didn't know, like, when it started taking off and getting all those views, like, I was like, and everyone's like, what are you gonna do with this? And I was like, I don't know. And it was like, I guess you better raise a bunch of money to make another video, because I called in every favor I had for that. So for the last, and then, I got a bunch of gigs touring because of that video. And I got to go to Burlesque Hall of Fame and performing.
Oh, wow.
It actually got me quite a bit of work performing live. So I kind of did that, and then it was like, okay, well, how am I I guess I'm gonna have to do a GoFundMe or like whatever. But I didn't want to just do one video. I wanted to do million videos. And now time has come.
I find that really, really hard. As a performer who is like really dedicated to like that live experience and the actual art form, having an internet presence has been like probably my biggest detriment to moving forward as an artist in the past.
You know what?
So being here is pretty incredible.
Here's an interesting question. So I come from a very long history of theater performing and musical performances and all this kind of stuff.
I did not
You
spell
know,
on
little
myself.
spell? Okay.
Okay, now
Misdirection,
someone else
misdirection,
felt me
Crystal,
Right.
misdirection.
But a long line of theater performance. I also did film, but I find myself kind of alone in the area of saying that I prefer performing on film.
Oh, I totally do. No, you're not alone there. No, I
Well,
fully
because a lot of people love the energy, and I get it. When you have an audience, when you know you have them, that's an amazing feeling.
That's
to
what
be able to-
screenings are for.
Yeah, well, sure.
Although you have to trust the edit.
The subtlety, like I do a lot of comedy. I love comedy, but the subtlety of my performance in a film scenario, I find is far more comical than when I have to try to make a small thing big on a big stage
Yeah. See,
in
I
order
don't,
to
I
try
don't
to
think
get
of
it
just
across.
comedy for that. I think of like, there's so many, there's such minor things where you can just change the way you're looking at something. You can slowly lower your brow and it reads, that's, so a huge part of why I love acting on camera is knowing your frame. Because if it's a wide, if it's a full shot where your whole body's in it, then it's not as nuanced. Like there's still little things you can do, but if you know your frame is here, then you know that any little movement is going to read.
gonna be
Yeah,
a
like
big
the
thing.
thought. The
Yeah,
thought
it's gonna
is
be a
the
big
action.
thing.
The thought is the action.
People can see that.
But it's also
when
the
you're that close on
container.
camera.
So the
Very much so.
container around, that's such a hippie term, but the container around, I'm like, no, intention container. But the container around film work is such that you can be subtle and you don't have to like constantly be hounding humans to like you and hire you and do all that stuff. You know, like here having like a bunch of people support the work that you're doing and just be able to be like, hey, what's up? We're gonna do all this cool stuff, as opposed to when you're, you know, I mean, I know that you still have to hustle as a film actor. Like, I understand that that's
big
a
time.
thing. Yeah, I understand that's a thing. But I feel like in the theater, or like, theater is just so, I mean, we are in the underground stage world, which I feel is kind of like the modern theater, but it's still so, I don't know, it just feels really bottlenecked.
Well, here's a question: Do you guys, when you performed live, did you get nerves every time,
No.
like butterflies at all?
There's
or-
definitely a point where that nervousness just transfers over to a form of excitement. And it's
Interesting.
quite different. It's very.
Was
it's
that
different,
leading
but it's
up to
always
or
there.
on stage? Because I've always gotten like,
Both.
I don't get nervous until like right before, and then I get on stage and it goes away.
Right. Honestly, I think one of the things that made me pull back from performing as much as I was not having that backstage feeling of like, oh shit, here it comes! Like sitting backstage and being like, yep, this is like what people do when they're on the bus on the way to work. Oh, wow. They're just ready to do work, and they're just ready to get there and do the thing and go home. Like
I
there
like-
was definitely a few points where I hit that and I went, ooh, let's pull this back a little.
Yeah, that's fair.
I found that's good that you did that and that you realized it and that you pulled it back, because I would like start sabotaging my performances
Oh.
to feel nervous. I would like not be prepared. I would like
Oh, yeah,
forget my
the
part of my
underprepare.
costume, or like I didn't do it on purpose.
I was gonna say, like, was that in like to add
No,
excitement, or was that sort of like
no.
a subconscious?
It was a subconscious thing, or even just like be in a state where you're just like a little bit too inebriated to go on, like not for any big gigs where I'm just like, keep your shit together. But like sometimes at like, you know, my body would crave that high of the excitement and nervousness and anticipation of like something not happening that you couldn't control. And I know this about myself because
Did you have it? What was that? 2 days ago? 2 days ago when we for the
God, no.
on camera?
That's
No,
different,
I was gonna
because
say, the
this
camera's
is a
different.
new experience. So that's what I was saying. So it's a new experience because it's not the validation aspect. It was more like, okay, so when I go in front of a crowd, it's like, I'm going to entertain this crowd. They're going to come back at me with that. And, you know, it's going to be a night where they're all partying and I'm going to be their dance monkey, kind of basically. And I was very happy to be in that role for a long time. On this week, on Wednesday, when we did our shoot for the Base Coast thing, I was like, we like really worked hard to get this together to this place. We know that it's going to be this, this, and this, and this.
Yeah.
We know that it's going to be a surprise. We
And you
know.
weren't nervous.
Absolutely not.
Wow, were you nervous for the juggling video?
Not really.
Huh.
I
still
knew
get
exactly
nervous
what
as
we were
crap.
going to do.
I
But
don't.
I think
But
partially
I've also been
again.
performing for 20 years. You know, like And it was new. It was like, here's a new challenge. We're going to do it. I also had to impress the crew because they didn't know we were going to do that until 2 days before
And
that.
the shit Crystal and I have done makes you tough as a performer.
Yeah.
Like performing for drunk dudes when you're taking your clothes off makes you hardcore. It means you have to get on stage with this like you're gonna like it no matter what attitude. And I started performing circus on the street in Alberta. So if you don't step in front of those people with like you don't go like you want a show. That's asking for death. You walk up to people and you go, here's a show, and you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
And it just teaches you how to be tough.
And
no one respects jugglers.
No.
Like no one respects jugglers.
That's not true.
And
I respect jugglers. I don't respect mimes.
Okay. You go into one of those art forms being like, generally, it's like magic. Like generally, you go into one of those art forms and like you know you've done well when people are like, I'm surprised I like that.
People come up to me like, you're really brave.
Yeah.
Like, you're like...
I've studied mime.
That shit makes you tough.
Enough that I can, and this is the real truth of it. I've studied mime to the point where it's enough that I can walk by a mime and go, he's good. Yeah. All right. And then move on. There's no mime performance in the world that's gonna like captivate me for more than the 5 seconds that thought took. but I can appreciate the talent. Now I'm moving on.
There's also like a level where you have to get out from yourself.
Yeah.
You have to get out from yourself and you have to just be like, and I think that I've been able to do that and that's why I'm here. Like I feel like my reward from being like, hey, it's not all about people clapping at you and thinking you're amazing and you being a big scenester. Like it's
That
more,
can be addictive. That's the thing.
It was super addictive and it's more about, especially if you have like this like fundamental low self-esteem issue from having a lifetime of people telling you that, you know, you're not good enough, you know, like, I mean, everyone can relate to that. But then when you get to this point where you're just like, actually, like, this is how I really look, and this is what I can do, and like these are the powers that I actually have, and here are the people I have access to. Like, when you were talking about, oh, like, we are seasoned performers and we can handle this shit, that's why I brought in the Obscure girls, because those women can just come in, like, they came in and I'm really excited for you guys to see this performance because you need to know this.
Okay. Finish this
I'm
thought.
spoiling too much.
No. Finish the thought.
But they like came in one day, short rehearsal, and then they did all the choreo.
That's true.
For the shoot that night.
Next day. Okay, so where I was cutting you off is because we have run out of time.
Oh my God.
That was an hour?
Yeah. So,
I was going to tell the story of how I set fire to the Bass Coast stage.
well, we'll do that another time. That was at the first Bass Coast?
That was the first Bass
That
Coast.
was at the first Bass Coast. We'll tell that story another time.
I also saved the stage.
It's important.
I
You did
saved
both.
the stage. Yeah.
It's important you do both.
There's a lot of things we didn't get a chance to talk to. Actually, something to your point about the stigma around rave culture. There's a thing that we didn't mention, which I meant to. If that came up, was Bass Coast has an amazing harm reduction
Oh my God.
crew. They do an amazing job, which is something that
Groundbreaking.
doesn't exist at corporate festivals.
No.
Or like it's not a thing.
No, because you have to pretend it's not there.
You have to pretend like it's like
So rather than pretending it's not there, they have harm reduction run by Stacey
Forrester.
Thank you. And she does a fantastic job.
Amazing.
Thank you, Stacey.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that another time. Maybe we can get her on the show. So in the meantime, we are done for the day, guys. So
gosh,
thank you,
that's
Crystal.
fun.
Thank you,
Thank you guys
Chris,
so much for
being
joining
here.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Remember to like, subscribe, share. Please get this out there.
And watch the video that we taped here tomorrow night, Saturday, 6:30. Go to basscoast.ca.
Oh yeah, did we say the time?
Yep.
Did we say the time? 6:30 tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. And then we're also going to upload it on
Twilight
YouTube after that. So,
Changing up in here.
Yeah.
It's rave light time, I think.
wait a minute, what? Yes!
It's smoke a pump in here.
Is that here the whole time?
What did you do? What did you eat?
Let's get back to what matters. I'm no longer impressed by stutter of getting flattered. I don't need you to like my shit. I ditched that negative chatter, and now I know better. I got my two brains are staggered and they've been growing together. I don't need to be fetishized, validated by your eyes. This is not a pass, don't forget about